Hey guys, how's it going? You're probably wondering, why am I not driving a Tesla? You're driving a nice car. Yes, this is my wife's car, but the answer is simple. See, I sold my Model X, White Knight, and I've ordered a Model 3, which I have not received yet. So by the time you see this video, I'll have the Model 3. You already know about it, so that kind of explains what's going on. But more importantly, today, I'm on a mission. I'm going to the Toronto airport, and I'm picking up my friend Sean Mitchell from the All Things EV YouTube channel. Please make sure you subscribe. And I offered to take him for lunch because he's here only overnight. He's going to a special event. I'll let him explain. And I thought I'd be a chauffeur for the day and get caught up with him a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed the video and my little fireside informal chat with Sean Mitchell. Hey folks, well, as you can see, I got Sean Mitchell here with me from All Things EV YouTube channel. A little tongue-tied, the hot chicken, you know. Just thought we'd have a little chit-chat on our way down to Niagara Falls. I already did an intro, but I don't know. Do you want to talk? Listen, this video is going to go out after your event, so feel free to talk about what you're doing here. So the viewers know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto and more specifically Niagara Falls for the Porsche Taycan event, which I've talked a lot about over the last couple of weeks on my channel. Extremely excited. This will be the first time that the public has really seen this vehicle for the first time. They will be revealing the specs, which I have seen, and I think it's going to generate a ton of chatter on the internet, especially with Tesla owners. So I'm excited to be here in person, and big shout out to Teslarati because they're the ones that invited me to the event to sort of cover the event on their behalf. And so I'm excited about doing at least one video, but I think that we'll try and do a couple of videos here.
Have they talked about whether you're going to get test rides in the car? I would expect
no test rides for this one. They did test rides about a week ago.
Oh.
So you will see reports on that.
Okay.
But they, for whatever reason, they did it separate events. I don't know if it was just location or timing and too much to do all at the same time. But they have already done that with the press. The press have gotten rides, and what can I say? Generally, I think the acceleration is quite impressive. I heard talks of people getting extremely sick after several launches. So I think that's definitely going to be an impressive part of the car, right? We were talking at lunch about the performance aspect and the performance history of Porsche. They've got a long tenure of just really excelling at the performance side of things.
I think it's all important for a lot of people to remember with Porsche is that their tradition comes from, sports cars. And the Taycan is a true sports car. Yes, everybody's going to compare it to a Model S, but the Model S is not a sports car. It's a family sedan that just happens to do things that are similar to a sports car. But as far as a competitor is concerned, for, say, something that's more sports car related or on the track, the Taycan is going to be something to be reckoned with in a lot of ways. So I just want to say for people that are viewing out there, don't get upset about specs or maybe the Taycan beating the Model S in certain respects and stuff. You have to remember, these are very different cars. And I think with you to probably agree, I mean, more EVs on the road, the better. And especially with Porsche, if they're going to make this a halo car, what better place to do it? The proper EV sports car.
Right.
Don't forget, the Roadster's coming too, so that'll be a different animal altogether. Right?
I mean, it makes me so excited to see all of this momentum building with electric vehicles, and I got a little bit of flack from some people on the Audi e-tron review, but there's, as I start to sort of broaden my exposure to other electric vehicles, there's a couple of things that become really clear to me. Number one, Tesla is the market leader with battery technology and with range, and so I think for some people it's really hard for them to sort of get past that. Oh well, does it beat the Tesla's range specs? No, it doesn't. But how much range do you really need for your daily driving? I think that's probably will become one of the more important things to ask. Does it need the most? Does it have to be the best for people to adopt it? Probably not. And I get it. I saw a buddy of mine who I'll leave his name out, but he posted a comment that said, most people can be fine with the 204 mile range, but for the price, so he really questioned the price for the range, and it is what it is. I think that not everyone is going to resonate with Tesla and their mission and strategy, and so it's not going to be as overwhelmingly convincing for people who are driving a gasoline car to buy a Tesla. Maybe they want something from their own automaker that they're used to. Maybe they've bought Audis for 10.
There is such a thing as brand loyalty.
That's exactly right. So, I do think it's easy to harp on other automakers, but I do think it's important to encourage them. And just like what you were saying at lunch, everyone has a genesis and a place that they start. Tesla had that with the Roadster, right? How many miles was that one?
About 250 miles, so,
Which is still quite remarkable. I mean,
Well, on a good day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've definitely made some improvements with their battery packs over time with Roadster.
Yeah, I think it's important for Tesla people to really put it in perspective because, Tesla's been at this for, over 10 years now. And they have an upper hand in a lot of ways because they started from scratch. They didn't have any baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And they've set the bar so high now that everybody has this expectation. Well, if XYZ company comes out and they don't have a car that does a minimum of 300 miles and doesn't have supercharging and all these other things, that it's dead in the water. It's not true. You also have to remember these legacy automakers don't have control over the battery prices. They're not like Tesla. They're not vertically integrated in a lot of ways. So there are some things that are working against them. I think for me, the thing that I see, and I don't want to make this about me here, but it is my channel.
Yeah,
so
you can do whatever you want.
No, I think the biggest hurdle I feel with the traditional auto companies and the market that they're selling in is the dealer network. The dealer network has proven themselves to be quite hostile to EVs. Now, I don't know if that's just because of being uneducated or unwilling. We understand the sales process of an EV is a much longer cycle than a gasoline car. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows gasoline cars. So when you go in, it's like, how much is this thing going to cost me to get it off the lot today? They don't do total cost of ownership calculations, which is very important when you're buying an EV. Personally, if I was going to be Porsche or any of these other companies, you really got to focus on your sales education and not make it about moving a car necessarily. They need to take a different tactic. And I understand with the traditional dealerships, it's unlike Tesla, where Tesla front loads all the profit margins on the car rather than the dealers, it's on the service aspect, right? Mm-hmm. So there are going to be some adjustments involved with the rest of the market. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully they don't fail miserably like Fisker did originally, because they had what looked like a nice car, but engineering-wise, it wasn't the best. But
I'm concerned about, I will say this one thing about the dealer and the network model. It is challenging. It's been challenging certainly for me to navigate that in Colorado. We've run up against some interesting obstacles as the electric vehicle community has been trying to move forward things that will collectively benefit not only current electric vehicle owners but future, as well as trying to limit air pollution, which is something that's really bad in the Denver area in particular. But one of the things that I think will be extremely challenging for traditional OEMs and dealers to sort of keep pace with is this ability for fresh new automakers like Tesla. You'll see probably the same thing with Rivian and probably Bollinger and some of these others, is the ability to push out over-the-air software updates. That is a hurdle for traditional automakers because they have to answer to the dealership as well. So what you have with Jaguar and the e-tron, the Audi e-tron, is these updates have to be installed at the dealership.
At the dealer, rather than sitting in your driveway at home.
So it really slows down the process of this incremental improvement of the car post-purchase. And that makes me really, really nervous because these traditional OEMs won't be able to be as nimble. They won't be as nimble as some of these new companies.
I feel in a lot of ways Tesla's not only disrupting the automotive industry from manufacturing and design, but the dealer model is very... one of the reasons Tesla decided to go to the direct model rather than the dealerships is out of necessity and survival. Because the service aspect is just not there. It's just kind of like an afterthought in a lot of ways. So if you're going in and you're selling a car, you got to make sure you have good profit margins. And because, let's face it, the service aspect of it is pretty, insignificant, minimal compared to other cars. So it's completely 180 degrees from the dealership model. So, like I said, I think it's going to be quite an adjustment for a lot of these dealers to get around that. And I think that's one of it's one thing for a manufacturer to start developing EVs, but to get the dealers on board and get them educated and get them excited is going to be a pretty big challenge. I know for a fact when a few years ago I decided just to go in for fun to local Nissan dealer and just show me a Leaf.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't carry the Leaf. I mean, what do you mean you don't carry the Leaf? You're Nissan. It says, no, only certain dealers are allowed to carry them. I'm like, all right. Actually, which reminds me, because you mentioned the guys at Rivian. Now,
Yes.
out of all the companies that have recently come out of stealth mode, if you will, these guys really have something going on. I want you to talk to our viewers a little bit more about what you think about Rivian, because I'm super excited for these guys.
I feel the same way. I think Rivian has the best potential to make it as a new automaker. Let me provide some context for why I believe that. I've had a chance on 2, 3, maybe 4 occasions to sit down either at their headquarters or at events. I did a one-on-one interview earlier this year with RJ, which was really great. I've gotten a chance to know them. I've talked with their head of design as well, most recently this past May at their headquarters, and really have a good feel for the talent that they have at the company, as well as many of us know, the money as well. Ford and Amazon invested quite a bit of a large sum into the company, and so they're extremely well funded, which seems like the most important building block to making it as a company.
Faraday future?
Yeah, exactly. You need a lot of money, and by a lot of money, we're talking, maybe $2 to $5 billion to get just a vehicle off the ground. They've got talent from traditional automakers, Jeep and GM, and they've got some very experienced people on their board of directors from
on the battery side. Some people maybe from Tesla in the past.
I would not be surprised. I don't know for certain, but they've got a lot of talent, and I'm most excited about the potential of them avoiding some of the manufacturing and production challenges that Tesla has seen, because they've got all of this experience. So their head designer came from Jeep, and so you've got this sort of interesting outdoors overlap in terms of design approach. So that's really interesting. I think his team has done a phenomenal job at making the car rugged, but capable and pretty technical. Like it has all the creature comforts.
There's some really neat innovation, like that tunnel that they put down through there. That was, I've seen. The thing is, if you look at pickup trucks, the way they're marketed, you can pull 1 ton, I can pull 2 tons, I can drag an aircraft carrier. It's all about towing, and it's all about cargo capacity. Now, I understand with Rivian, that's not the tactic they're taking. They're positioning this as more of an activity vehicle.
Yeah.
So you're seeing things like, okay, well, let's use part of the bed on the back to put a tunnel in, and they've shown the little camping thing, which I think is really brilliant on that thing. I think recently they showed some kind of tent attachment for the back, which is really cool. And of course, the latest video that they put out is the tank mode, because they have 4 motors on this thing, so they can do 360 degrees. There's some innovation going on there. So I'm very excited about what they do, what they're doing with this car. Of course, the pickup segment is the thing that everybody's talking about. You got Bollinger. Everybody's talking about Tesla's pickup, of course, because that's the big 800-pound gorilla that's everybody's waiting to talk about.
Yep. So I think Rivian will address this Toyota Tacoma, Jeep, Land Rover market more than they will the F-150 and Dodge Ram. And I think that's probably a smart play, because at the moment, Rivian's introducing some massive battery packs that don't exactly, in terms of battery pack size for the amount of range that you get, it's not quite at the Tesla level. And so they're having to do double stack battery packs to make this like a 200 kilowatt hour pack. And
what are the sizes again? 100, 130, and 180?
That sounds about right. It's been a little while since I've looked at it, but they're massive.
Yeah.
They're super massive packs. So it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out. Seems like it would be a heavy vehicle with that. So, I think it's smart that they are not trying to target that traditional truck market, because it's just, I don't think you're going to get the right specs. Now, maybe Tesla, since they've got industry-leading battery tech, they might be able to compete, with towing capacity and range. That's going to be the challenge. Mm-hmm. You want this to be a very capable car. If you're going to tow something, you can't have a small range, right? Because it's going to eat up the range. People know that.
I think it's the number one thing when people talk about pickup trucks, because let's face it, pickup trucks are not fuel-efficient cars. No. I mean, these guys that are towing these things, they're not getting rated miles. They're towing boats. They're pulling, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Tesla positions their car. We know from a design aspect that they are deliberately pulling out all the stops. When this thing comes out, it's not going to look like anything else on the market. And that's deliberate on their part.
It makes me a little nervous, actually.
Well, yeah, but I think, like I said, they've been getting braver and braver. Like, remember when the Model S came out, had the nose cone on the front? And they did that specifically because they didn't want it to look weird. Yeah. And eventually they dropped it. Of course, they did the facelift, and the Model S and the Model X came out. And they're just getting more adventurous. And I think the pickup truck is just them throwing all caution to the wind to say, look, when we put this thing out on the street, we want people to pay attention to this car. I don't care how it looks. Yeah. It's just people are going to go, what the heck is that thing?
Right.
So I think, and you understand as well as I do that Tesla understands that design and sex sells. They understand that. So I think with the pickup, they're going to use some of that cachet to be able to get some of the market. Now, how much they're going to compete against the F-150 or the others, I don't know. We don't know how this market's going to play out. But as far as vehicles are concerned, there's not a lot of segments. You got the small sedan covered by the Model 3, larger sedan S. You got the Model Y company, which is going to destroy everything else on the market in that segment. What other segments left? Well, it's pickup trucks. You got semi-trucks coming. Who knows?
Right.
So that's your whole gamut of cars.
Yes.
Right.
I think there's a very good chance that pickup truck, Tesla pickup truck, will see semi-truck tech in it. I mean, it makes tons of sense.
Well, they're going to leverage. I mean, the semi-truck leverages a lot of the Model 3 stuff, like the motors, the battery technology. Those are all 2170s, and I think guaranteed. I'll put money on that.
Yep.
Sure.
In terms of durability, though, I'm really excited about that, because we know that they've been testing the semi-truck and driving across the U.S. For durability, and
that's crucial. I think the Tesla's doing the right thing this time around, rather than doing what they've traditionally done, which I talked to you about at lunch. When they go from drawings to production in 2.5 years. I think this program is, you need durability, because this product, you can't afford to have any hiccups with this thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's costing companies money when your truck is not moving
big time. There's some big names that reserve these things, right? Sure. So if it doesn't meet their expectations, you're going to suffer, right? So I was curious too about your thoughts about, not to talk about all EVs at this point anyways, but your thoughts about Elon, in the sense that, as a CEO, I've long said too that I think Tesla needs a Gwynn shop. Yeah. Somebody to run Tesla, much like Gwynn runs SpaceX, and let Elon be the guy in the back solving problems and be the engineer that he likes to be. Let him be the CEO, but they need a COO.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll preface it by saying that I'm on the outside looking in, making opinions that just based on what I know, which is limited view. But I would really love to see that personally. I do think that there are certain things that Elon is really good at, and others that are not. Even he himself has admitted that he's not a businessman. Mm-hmm. He's a design and he's an engineer type of guy. So I do sometimes wonder if some of these issues, some of these bottlenecks that we see in the Tesla organization that we've talked about off camera, would be solved by having someone who's more operational driving those things and making sure that those things get executed on. One of the things that I think is one of the reasons why I think that's really paramount to have someone who can emphasize that is Tesla relies heavily on their customers to sell their cars, right? They don't do any formal...
Guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've helped them sell a few as well. But I think that you really need to take good care of the customers, and you need to have the best service possible. It should be white glove, especially if you're relying on them to help sell the vehicle. So, I have seen a few names kicked around. One of them being Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook. I've seen Jerome Guillen's name kicked around.
Personally, I think Jerome is really the guy who's taken up a lot of the reins. I mean, he's been promoted internally. I mean, he's president of automotive everything at Tesla now.
Yeah. He understands the operational side of things the best, probably at the company, at Tesla. So I can see that being a natural fit. And he does not appear to want the limelight either. He doesn't need the limelight like Elon does. So I do wonder if that would be a very natural fit. And the other thing that I would expect to be going through Elon's mind is, I need someone that I can trust. I need someone that's not going to run the business in the ground or sabotage the business, because he sees a lot. He sees the worst of the worst, and you can get jaded as the company who has a target on their back in many different directions. So I like the idea of Jerome just because he's been at the company for so long, and he's run so many different parts of the business, from sales to operations to manufacturing and production. The other one that has been kicked around is sort of the matriarch of Tesla, Bonnie Norman. She appears to have some good relationships and has just a huge heart for Tesla and Tesla owners.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know a little while ago you did a video with Sandy Munro, and I thought it was awesome because I like to watch Sandy's stuff. I mean, Sandy's one of these guys who's actually come around to the Tesla thing, because remember when he first got one of the very first Model 3s, which of course is not always the best indicator, of quality when you're first starting out any kind of new product off the line. And I don't care what manufacturer you are, early cars always have issues. I'm a guy who knows because I bought one of those cars.
Right.
Anyways, I was curious to see, what your thoughts were after the fact when you rewatch. I mean, is there anything else that you would have liked to ask Sandy about his thoughts about where Tesla is and the Model 3? Because, he's torn apart lots of EVs, including, what was it, the I-Pace recently? Is that what they're working on?
He did the I-Pace.
Because he did the i3, the Chevy Bolt, the Model 3, and then, of course, now they're doing an I-Pace, right?
Yeah. It was a really great interview. I really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit more. So the context, if you haven't watched any of the videos that I put up, Gally from Hyperchange and I went to this one-day electric car conference back in May at their facility in the Detroit area. And they talked about their findings. They had this really fantastic booklet that they put together with pictures of cost of, for example, battery pack of the Model 3, the i3, the Chevy Bolt. And, I just think it's really convincing. There were a lot of questions that I wish that I had time to ask. We talked for an hour. It's an hour-long interview.
Yeah.
And everyone was, one of the things that I've really enjoyed doing lately is going on Twitter or YouTube and saying, hey, I'm going to be doing this. What questions do you have?
Yeah,
crowdsourcing the questions. That's been really great. So I think there were probably 125, 150 questions about that people had for Sandy Munro. So, unfortunately, I couldn't get to all of them. I wish that I would have gotten to dive in a little bit more to his thoughts on the 70-to-1 stamping machine. I thought that would have been interesting for him to hear.
You're talking about the Model Y casting.
Yeah. So I wish I would have taken a little bit more time to ask him about that, what his thoughts are, if he thinks that it's feasible, how that would impact cost. Repairability maybe. So yeah, that's definitely one thing I would have loved to have him talk about. I wish that he knew more about S and X. He spent most of his time on the Model 3.
Yeah.
He said in the video that when I asked him about which electric car he's most excited about in the next year, he without hesitating said the Model Y. So I'm really looking forward to him getting one of those and tearing it down to see what improvements have been made between Model 3 that he...
Well, don't forget, Model Y is really leveraging just about everything from Model 3. I've looked at schematics as best I can. most of the difference is really going to be in the body of that car. Most of the electronics, powertrain and stuff is all lifted from Model 3. I mean, other than maybe they do get around to doing this wiring thing they've been talking about. Yeah. Of course, you know, the body. I mean, obviously with Sandy, his biggest bugaboo about the Model 3 is, you know, is the body situation, right? Like, it's overbuilt. It doesn't need to be like this. And in some respects, I mean, I'm not a body guy. What do I know?
Yeah.
I've been to lots of Tesla body shops in the Toronto area and talked to those people about how the Model 3 is built. And the one thing that always comes off is like how many disparate bonding and construction methods there are in the car. And I always thought to myself, it seems a bit excessive. You know, when the body shop guys would say, yeah, in this one section you use no less than 5 different rivets.
Right.
And then it's bonded, and then this part has to be welded, and I'm like, really? It just seems overcomplicated. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure Tesla has their reasons for doing that.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. Sandy seemed to think that it was overkill as well.
But everything below, I mean, the battery pack, the drivetrain and stuff, he's always blown away.
That was what convinced him of the car, you know, because he was not very fond of the exterior. But the battery technology and the motor is just, it's alien tech. I mean, it is light years beyond what any competition is doing.
There's some real innovations in the Model 3 compared to the S and the X. I'm familiar with all three cars, but things like, I mean, the latest thing everybody's talking about, even though it's not really new, is the super bottle thing, where they've taken several different cooling mechanisms and vents and shunts and so on and so forth, and just combine them all into this one little box, which is a brilliant move on their part. I think you and I both agree that we still feel that it's a shame that a lot of this tech still hasn't made its way into the Model S and the X. I mean, all the stuff that they've put into the Model 3, talk about the HVAC system, the more advanced CPU, or the battery tech, for crying out loud. Right. Yes, they've been pulling certain parts of the Model 3, like the new Raven cars have the more efficient PMAG motor in the front pulled from the Model 3. I'm like, okay, what about the battery?
Right.
You know, there's some crucial changes that are happening there. So don't know if it's a willingness thing or just the lack of resources. I mean, I wish I knew.
Again, you know, it's outsiders looking in, and it's hard to really, you know, we're at this point we're armchair.
If anybody knows, put some comments down. I want to know.
Yeah. I mean, we're just armchair critics at this very educated.
Armchair engineers.
Yeah. Here I had an opportunity to interview Jeff Don, which is super cool because he does not do a lot of interviews.
No.
He is very quiet.
I watched some of his lectures on YouTube, which are absolutely fascinating. If you guys want to see some really deep dive stuff on battery set technologies, I'll try to remember to put a link down in the video here. You guys can go and watch it. I mean, it's super technical, but you won't believe the material science that goes into lithium-ion batteries.
You know, he said some really interesting things. One of them is that he does think vertical takeoff and landing electric planes do have a place, but probably more for shorter distances and regional distances, so not long haul at the moment. I know Elon has talked about the weight of batteries needing to get to a certain point.
The watt-hour density.
Mm-hmm.
And the weight,
Yeah. So that was a really interesting takeaway. He talked about cobalt-free batteries. That sounds like that's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, and I know that there were some patents that were filed by his...
Is he still under contract with Tesla? Is he still working with Tesla?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding. So, great guy, very, you know, he does not, you know, talking about Jerome Guillen, Jeff Don does not search for the limelight.
No.
He wants to stay away from the limelight, that's my impression, and he just wants to do what he loves, which is battery research, and clearly he's doing a phenomenal job because, as we already have discussed multiple times, Tesla is the market leader in battery tech, and I think that Tesla made a good decision by contracting out his research group to to further the technology and new battery tech.
Did he talk about solid state battery technology at all, or is he still focused on
I can't remember
liquid electrolytes?
I can't remember if it was on or off camera, but we did.
Okay.
And I think my observation about the conversation was that it's still a ways off. It's still a 5.
I know Fisker's made some noise about it in their next car that's coming out.
the cars that they have not come out with still. I mean, they're like releasing concept cars of their sedan, their SUV, and there was another one, right? Was it a truck?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but I would love to just see that.
The worldwide leader in concept cars is Volkswagen.
Yeah, no, totally. Oh man, they've got like, I don't know what, 5 or something.
Oh my gosh, they've been teasing that damn minibus for 20 years. Like, get off your butts and do it.
Well, I think that they're going to show off the VW ID3 to the public this week at the Frankfurt Auto Show.
Yeah.
So that'll be really exciting. Unfortunately, that's only going to be sold in Europe, in China, I think. So as of right now, it won't make it to the U.S. or North America.
Shame.
It is. It seems like a really viable product, and
Now, I'll be honest with you, Sean. I think out of all the German manufacturers, Volkswagen is the one to really watch as far as electrical movement is concerned. They seem to have made some good investments. They put out a lot of concept cars. I get it, but I just got this gut feeling that, the whole Dieselgate thing has changed the corporate culture in some respects. Yes, they've been in news recently for doing stupid stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as far as really pushing hard to get more cars into the battery electric, they're the ones really to watch. The ones that are really bothering me right now, because I'm a big fan of them, is BMW. They seem to be lost in the woods.
They've really sort of they've fallen out of pace. They really have not. They have not done much, and they've sat on the laurels.
They've been vacillating so much, They had a good lead with the i3 and the i8, even though the i8 doesn't really count. I mean, it's a nice little halo car to have, but it's just like, okay, why? Like, keep going, guys, and they just kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to do it. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. I don't know what's going on. I think there's some corporate governance down there that they're out to lunch, or I don't know where there's And the thing is you got Angela Merkel, who's pushing really hard for the whole German auto industry to go electric, and they've just they're stomping their feet and they're dragging their heels. Wouldn't be surprised that Tesla announces Gigafactory 4 for Europe is right here in Germany.
Yeah.
To me, it just makes the best sense to actually put a factory, because you've got the automotive sector that's there. They've got a lot of expertise.
You have the talent.
You have the talent.
That's a big reason why.
Roman Engineering is there too. I mean, the subsidiary that they bought. There's a lot of things going on there. So I no disrespect for any other countries that have automotive experience, but it just makes total sense to me to build a factory on the German-French border or something like that.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that happens. I know there were some rumors swirling around about Germany and their next gigafactory. I don't know if it'll be built as fast as the Chinese one. That was crazy.
That's just mental.
Yes.
That factory went up so darn fast. You know what? And I was a skeptic at first. I'm like, no, there's no way they're going to build this thing in 5 or 6 months. No way. Well, boy. I'm happy to be wrong on that. Super happy to be wrong on that.
Hopefully you didn't put too much money down on a bet.
No. I'm not the kind of guy to make it interesting, but that's just been phenomenal. I think it just really speaks. I mean, and I mentioned it on the podcast. I think it was last week. There's a Netflix special movie that they did. It's called American Factory. Have you seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you should totally watch that.
Mm-hmm.
It basically shows the cultural difference between an American way of doing business and the Chinese way of doing business, because they had a Chinese company that came into Ohio and they bought an ex-GM plant, and it's a glass factory. And just to seeing the Chinese mentality and the American mentality, of course, then you got the unions involved and all this other stuff. So it reminds me of the old 80s film, Gung Ho.
Okay.
Right? Kind of like that a little bit. Just the mentality and the culture clash. Anyways, highly recommend if you want to watch it. Just get an understanding of when you see the Chinese gigafactory being built like that. You go like, how the heck can they do that when they're still talking about, we'll build a Hyperloop track, and it still hasn't happened yet.
Right.
It's just, I think a lot of it has to do with just red tape and a go-do-it attitude that the Chinese have.
Good for them. I mean, I think that the Chinese market is going to be fundamental to Tesla's success.
No question.
I'm excited. I think that Tesla's best years are ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of prospect.
2018 was a very, very challenging year for them. Especially when we come into the third and fourth quarter this year, if they are, as they say, profitable. I think they're going to be largely out of the woods as far as that's concerned. I mean, you can't be making 500,000 Model 3s a year and not start making money at some point, right?
Yeah, they've been cutting back on cost too, so hopefully that helps too. Yeah, they they're doing really well. I think they're heading in the right direction. It was funny. I was getting my phone fixed at the mall a couple of days ago, and the Apple store is right next to the Tesla store. And I was walking behind this family, and this little girl, said, "Dad, do you want to get a Tesla, or will you get a Tesla?" And he says, "No, they're not making any money." I'm walking behind him with my Tesla shirt on. I didn't say anything. I'm like, man,
you're like
biting my tongue.
I know the feeling, because I've heard it all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
You wear a Tesla shirt, and it doesn't matter, as a hairdresser or whatever. Like, so how do you like that car?
Mm-hmm.
All right, number one question.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like, how do you like the car? It's like, how much, how far, and how long? Right? Those are the usual questions you get. It's certainly interesting, but the sheer amount of misinformation and just targeted anti-Tesla stuff on the internet is astounding.
You don't know unless you follow it closely.
Yeah.
Because most people are headline readers, and so all you read is the headline.
Mm-hmm.
If the headline is negative, you believe it, and if you don't follow it and you don't do your own due diligence, sometimes it can be very misleading. But
I have to do so much damage control when I talk to people. I mean, you get some people that get it, because I go to a lot of car shows. I got a lot of different events and stuff. I don't mind showing off the car, because I want to get out there and talk to people, but it's like, I get the usual questions all the time, but half your time is also spent on just dispelling the usual myths and BS that you hear on the internet. It's like, really? I think most people, they look at Tesla and they can't seem to separate what Tesla's doing from the product. I mean, it's great to love the product. They make a fantastic product. But in a lot of ways, how Tesla operates is they operate as a startup mentality, even though they're really not a startup anymore. And second of all, they're lean to a point of being detrimental to the customer.
Starving?
Yeah, right? So even though Elon has said many times, like, my number one priority is to fix the service situation, my experience, as I mentioned to you, and of course to the viewers many times, is my service experience with Tesla has always been excellent. Aside from, getting the odd gasoline car as a loaner, that's nor here nor there, but I've definitely seen from, talking to people that generally service in general has been improving, especially that they've been putting a lot of focus on the mobile, which is brilliant.
Yes.
And everybody who's ever experienced a mobile service has nothing but good things to say about it. It's been excellent. The area that I think Tesla needs to really focus on and grow is communications. They've been very bad at communications, and it's not like they don't communicate. Sometimes they don't communicate. Sometimes it's fallen through the cracks and stuff. Obviously with the forum, there are times when we have to do the odd escalation to help people out. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? So I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement in there. So even though I'm close to Tesla in a lot of ways, and you probably are too, being the Tesla Club in Denver, you're a little closer than maybe a mere mortal what might be, but it shouldn't be like that. Like, I shouldn't have to escalate through third-party channels or whatever to get something done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that's a cultural challenge. That's a process challenge, and more importantly, that's a leadership challenge at Tesla. And some of the executive departures may be impacting that. I really appreciated when John McNeil was running things. I think
John McNeil.
You could tell he really cared, and he was trying to.
I miss John.
Yeah. Well, I believe he left Lyft now, so I don't know what he's doing, but maybe he should come back to Tesla.
John was awesome. When he was on Twitter, if you had something, he was a get-it-done guy. He was excellent. And, when he left, we all felt this like, oh, that's terrible, because he was such a great guy. And, of course, Elon is like, oh, no, I'm going to take up his responsibilities. I'm like, dude, you got enough stuff on your plate. The last thing you need to be doing is taking on more stuff. We're in the middle of, Model 3 ramp when it was super critical. So, and unfortunately, they haven't replaced him with anybody who's been, the czar of customer service, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think that's where this frustration's coming from. Like, I like Bonnie Norman. Let's get her to do it.
I think she's sort of like, no,
thanks,
guys.
No.
I know what that entails. I don't want it.
We love you, Bonnie. We'd love for that to happen, but I understand where you're coming from.
Right.
If you're not interested, that's okay. We get it.
Yeah.
Well, as a closer, is there anything you would like to plug or tell everybody, what your channel is, where they can find you if they want to chit-chat with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can search All Things EV or Sean Tesla. I've also found my channel that way on YouTube. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's Sean M. Mitchell, middle initial for Michael. But, yeah, appreciate you picking me up and driving me to the Porsche Taycan event. Good to catch up, good to chat. Good to chat with everyone here as well, and happy to field any questions. Put some questions in the comments, and I'll take some time to see what everyone's saying.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, there you go. Well, you know the usuals with me. Just follow me on Twitter and all the usual stuff. And thanks for watching and tuning in. And we'll do some more of this stuff. And listen, if you're in Toronto, you know the YouTuber, whatever, you'd like to hang out, whatever, just give me a shout out and let me know. I don't mind playing Uber for somebody for a day. I mean, it's all in the same area. Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk to you later. We'll see you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you.